Wonderful. So let's go on. So we are saying poetry, or rather oral poetry, is one of the genres that we need, or rather we ought to understand in oral literature. So this oral poetry also has various subgenres. But before that, it's good for all of us to actually get to know this, especially as students, because I know most of the students, when especially they come to high school, they will be told if there is anything that is so challenging in English and literature, then it is poetry. I tend to differ. Why? The most enjoyable genre that all of us should actually devour and enjoy is poetry. Why? Poetry is part of us. When you look at everything around you, this is simply poetry. What do I mean? When I look at a mobile phone that I have in my hand, I can come up with a poem. For instance, there is a poem I wrote. This is my personal book, and I'm not promoting the book. I just want to use it because this is what I used to teach students in the school here. So there is a poem on mobile phones on page 68. The poem goes like this. You know, this is something that it just caught my attention because I've said poetry is just part of the society. Poetry is just a genre that is part of the society. Remember, literature is studying the society. You look at virtually everything around you is already a poem, depending with your mentality and the way you think. So I want all students to actually embrace poetry with a lot of love. Look at this poem on page 68. The title that I came up with is More Phones. I've alluded from the word mobile, so it is just more. The title is More Phones. This is to mean mobile phones. Then the poem is here. These more phones you see, gradually they increase. Sagem, Nokia, Samsung, endless is the list. Troubleshooter to our relations. Here I am, there you are. The truth only, a true reflection on the speaker. I love you, darling, so the SMS comes. Your love is with the other. Dishonesty is way succumb. More phones, vitality perceived. Harm and broken heart is the resultant effect. Celtel, cancel, Savcom, so the peace suffers a great deal. Relation breakages we encounter. Family death we progress. Business industries well established. A real contribution to the economy. More phones, so we wonder. Effective or defective? They are just more phones, latest inventories. Thank you. So this is a poem. I looked at a mobile phone and I said, because poetry is so nice and so enjoyable, let me come up with words. You put words, you write them on your own. I want to encourage all my viewers. The seat you are sitting on can become a poem. Look at the seat, the color of the seat, related to the fact that you are seated there. You can still come up with a poem. The pen you are using, whether red or blue, you can still come up with a poem. This will actually demystify the fact that poetry is so simple. So, this notion of students having the mentality that poetry is hard is not the portion of everyone. All of us, let's change our mentality and embrace poetry with the whole of our hearts. Now, if you are asked maybe what is poetry, it is the oldest form of literary creativity and exists in all parts of the world. It's just one way of expressing the feelings and expressing the feelings on the things that are around all of us. And for your information, if you want to find any great poetic word, I'll take you to the Bible. Look at the way King Solomon, in fact, King Solomon wrote over 3,000 proverbs and over 1,005 songs. This is, in fact, the beginning of poetry. To mean that the God we serve is a poetic God. If God is living in you, there is no way poems can be heard. So let's change this mentality. Where God is, there are possibilities. So if a student begins with that understanding, you'll realize that poetry is very, very simple. So What is poetry? This is simply a condensed form of writing, piece of music in stanza form. I'm saying poetry is simply a condensed form of writing, of music, but you put it in stanza form. So I want to encourage all of you, even before we move ahead, try your best as you listen to this video. Come up with a poem on anything, whether you are in your sitting room or in your bedroom. There are so many things to write about. You can just write a stanza about your pen. Oh, my pen, blue in color, black in color, red in color. Oh, my pen, you are flying me into my destiny. How, my pen? When I write, I understand. When I write, I remember. When I write, I become a doctor. I will use the same pen to help write prescription for my patients. My patients will get well. Oh, pen, how I cherish you. Thank you. You see, the pen you have in your bedroom or in your sitting room back at home there is already a poem. Are you seeing how poetry is very interesting? This is one of the genres that is so easy to handle. And I want to encourage all of you students to actually embrace that. If there is anything that is so major in life, it is attitude. There's a person who once said, if you take A for 1 and then Z for 26, you will realize that the word attitude is one of the greatest words that everybody should embrace from the bosoms of their heart. Why? If you take A plus T plus T plus I plus T plus U plus D plus E, you will get 100%. So I want to encourage, even before I continue with the other lessons on poetry, change your attitude. The moment you change your attitude, your perception has changed, you will realize that poetry is simple. It doesn't matter the kind of poem you are given in KCSE or in whichever level of examination, whether in colleges or in universities. You read a poem with an attitude of conquering it, you conquer and you answer all questions that have been given to you. So please, change your attitude. Be optimistic. Many students have been coming to me telling me, yes, we know you are a poet. We know you have written a book and you have written several poems. This thing is so tough. But when you begin taking them through the change of attitude, I am telling you, poetry becomes part of life. So for the rest who will view this video, change your attitude and you'll enjoy the poem. In fact, in my book, I've said, if you change your attitude, poetry becomes palatable. It means you can eat it, you can chew it, you can devour it anytime. Wonderful. Then another very crucial thing, for you to demystify poetry, then you need to have an open mind. You will find sometimes, especially in English, students will begin looking for the inner meaning or the hidden meaning. And this brings a lot of confusion. Just read the poem the way it is. Like I've read out Morphons. This poem is straightforward. You don't even need to begin struggling. You open the book, read the poem, it is Morphons. Listen to this poem. These Morphons you see, gradually they increase. This is simply saying that mobile phones have increased. Mobile phones have increased. This was not part of the society initially. Then they just increased. Then the next line I've said, Sagem, Nokia, Samsung. Remember, when mobile phones were introduced to the market, we had such kind of names that even with time, some have already faded out. Endless is the list. And we all know that these mobile phones have brought a lot of challenges to the society. That is what I've written in essence about Morphons. There are families that are broken down because why? You call somebody, I hope you've seen even you students, when you are in a matatu and then you hear a man or even the conductor or the driver is being, where are you? He says a different state or a different place from where all of you are in the vehicle there. That is how mobile phones have destroyed the society. Now, if you are asked, like for example, in question 1, what is the theme of the poem? Then remember, in the last stanza, I've clearly said, business, industry is well established. Let me tell you, since the innovation of mobile phones, it is very easy to work. You can easily communicate with the people who are under you. They listen to everything. I mean, you can even monitor your work when you are far away, not even in your state or your country, and things can still move. But remember, these same mobile phones have brought marriage, has led to broken marriages. The same mobile phones has increased the economy of the nations of the world. So, like for instance, if you get such a poem, and then question one is, what is the theme of the poem? You don't need to say this thing is hard. You'll just say that the poem is talking about the effects of mobile phones, both positive and negative, and then you give an example. There are family breakages, and again, the positive one is that there is an economic boost. Now, you have been asked a question like a question I formulated in part B. What does the poet mean when he says, the truth only a true reflection onto the speaker? Now, let me read for you where I got this poem from. Here I am, there you are. The truth only a true reflection onto the speaker. When somebody calls you, you know you are in Kadzonzo. Then you are telling them, I'm almost where you are. I'm in Kilifi. It is only you who knows the truth when you have a mobile phone. Now you can see that mobile phone has some vice. So the poem is also very educative, because anything you write that is literary should contribute positively to the society. We should all learn that mobile phones are good, but they can also be very destructive. So let's develop the virtue of honesty. Don't lie where you are not. That is what that question is asking. Then if you are told, identify the stylistic devices used in the poem and show their effectiveness, we will come to that with time. So I just wanted us to know, to see the way you can use anything in the society and come up with a nice poem. Remember and put it in your mind. What I've said this wonderful afternoon is that this is a written piece of music that is in stanza form. If you get that and then you change your attitude, as we continue analyzing poem, even as time goes by, you will come to really love and enjoy poetry. So students, this wonderful afternoon, the first thing I want to say in this lesson is, let's change our perception. If our attitude becomes 100% as it is said, then it will be very easy for all of us to love poetry. Have an open mind. Don't force yourself to look at the meaning that is not there. Read the poem the way it is, with an open mind, with right mentality, and I'm assuring you will enjoy poetry. I want to say poetry is life, and everything around us is just poetic. And all of us, we are poets, like I've already said. God is in you, and is a great is quite poetic. There is no way you are not a poet. It's only that you have not realized your potential. So change your mind, change your poetic world. I'll see you in the next lesson, and we will cover so many things. You'll come to realize if there's any genre that you need to love, then it's poetry. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
This is a city on a hill, a school with God's glory. Education is light, my Kadzonzo the only bright, shining star in the nation. Highly favored, my Kadzonzo, highly favored by God, so we are.